little particles, that's the Leela, the pastime. Then she saw he takes it.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam, Hare Krishna Prabhupada.
Welcome. Who's there, Hare Krishna Africa?
I'm hosting now, Maharaj.
All right, so maybe we have to wait a few minutes. Would you like to make some kirtan? I didn't hear the.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravami Karine Nirvishesha Shunyada Namaste Saraswati Devi Nirvishesha Shunyada Asatya Desatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Sadhana Nivashadi Jaya Shri Krishna
Promote now no. Who dear Mudu say? Mama unam.
Divashadi Gaura Bhakta Vindam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vindam Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Goranga.
Hare Krishna,
Guru.
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.
Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Srila
Nitai
Prabhupada.
Gora Haribo, 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 Gora Haribo.
Nitai Gora Haribo, Haribo, Haribolo, Gora Haribo.
Gora Nande.
Gora Premedari Haribo.
Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Padaya Bhutale, Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta, Swaminiti Namane, Namaste Sudeve, Gauravani Pucharani, Nirvishesha, Punyavadi Paschacha Desa Tarani. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Hare.
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jai, Hare Bo. Okay, so now we've read the entire book. Now we want to see if anybody learned anything. that, you know. So the first verse, I think everybody knows. Who can recite the first verse? Even in English.
Okay, Maharaj, I'll try. A sober person can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's the mind, the actions of anger and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals. Is qualified to make disciples all over the world.
Okay, now can you comment on that? Obviously, you know, it has a very long purport, remember? And we couldn't even finish it in one day. So there's a lot there. And Prabhupada was bringing it out in so many different angles. So give us some insight. Whatever your realization is, it doesn't matter. But
Okay.
there's no exact, usually there's no right or wrong. You know, you give your realization.
Okay, let's stop that call. What I think my realization in the whole of the Nectar of Instruction is that it gives direction on the practical application of Krishna consciousness. And specifically in the chapter, in the text number 1, Prabhupada is emphasizing the fact that for one to be a devotee, he has to become a Goswami by way of controlling the mind and the senses. It is a prerequisite to become a devotee. To become a devotee means we have to be able to take control of the mind and the senses so that we can be able to engage them in the service of Krishna.
Right. So it's interesting. See, one can tolerate the urge to speak and tolerate. Doesn't mean that you eliminate those things. They're just built into the body and the material world. But controlling the mind means we tolerate. Don't jump on it. You know. Follow? Can you expand on that? You know, we think before, think before you leap, they say in English. Think before you speak. You know, what am I saying? Am I the right person to say it? Is this the right time? I'm saying it to the right person, because oftentimes we have the urge to just say, you stupid, shut up, and, you Yorobo or you Igbo or whatever, but that's not we have to, no, don't say that. Talk about Krishna. Say something about Krishna. Especially in the family, and familiarity breeds contempt, and we aren't always careful about what we say. Around strangers, right? Everybody be very careful what they say. But in the family, which includes like our devotee group that we all know each other for a long time, sometimes we don't think about what we're saying. And then we cause, all kinds of things. Like we try to have a meeting to settle something, and everybody has all kinds of different ideas, sometimes based on something they heard 20 years ago. So we have to be careful. Tolerate. Tamstatiksha Shabharata. A very important word in our life. Patience and tolerance. In the next verse, or the second next one? Utsahanisjayataya. Patience. Without patience, any other amount of enthusiasm or determination will fail us. Okay, anyone else like to say something about the first verse?
It's not 250. It's not 250. You can bring it.
About any of those 6 things? The genitals, they want satisfaction. You have to tolerate it. It's called an itch. It's very interesting that the word in English, itch, you have that word in your English? Haribol? Haribol?
Yes, my
Yeah. In English, we say itch. Mosquito bite and how it itches. All right, I have a bad feeling. So in Sanskrit, there's the word itcha. Itch means desire. Itcha dvesa samutena. Everyone is born into desire and hatred. It's heavy. You're born into it. So you have to tolerate the itch. My mother always I'd get some itch when you're a kid, you know, because you'd get hurt, sports or something. When it starts to heal, it won't. And your mother always said, don't scratch it. You scratch it anyway, and it starts bleeding, and then you get infected, and you know. So we jump to satisfy every little itch we get of desire. Want to say this, want to eat that, want to have sex here and that. Then we're going to be in big trouble. And we certainly won't be able to lead people back to Krishna. So it begins with eating only prasadam, you know, to control that. Then not eating too much, because in the purport it explains that if we eat too much, then the belly becomes heavy. And it's a very crowded area, you know. If you see these things they have in the school where they take off and you can see all the organs, they're really packed in there. So if the stomach and intestines get too full, they push down on the genital and make one want to satisfy the genitals. So that's another reason not to eat. And then the mind, you know, they have a Japanese proverb, when the belly is stretched, the eyes close. You know? And you get your belly too full and it pulls your eyes shut. And you just, and people like that. They want to get away from the environment because they don't see much they like. Okay, who else? Let me, you know, call on somebody, I guess.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah, Rasa, you talking so much. So
This
please explain this verse in a way if you went to a college classroom.
all right, Maharaj, I have a question.
Okay.
This Dina Valaba. The overeating, I mean, you are talking of the belly. In the case of the Pandavas, where Bhima alone take half of the food, in this case, how do we put his situation?
That's
Thank you.
easy. Bhima had a very special digestive fire. Like they had unlimited power. So it wasn't like lusty. He could, and he had, then Prabhupada says, if you want to eat so much, you should do Herculean tasks like Bhima did. But he was very big size, and he had this incredible fire burning up his belly all the time. The whole time they were in that 1 year exercise, he was hungry, no matter how much they could give him. So that it's not tongue and belly, you know. One should eat according to his digestive power. All right.
Thank you, Maharaj.
If you can eat, you know, 1 kilo of gari, then okay, if you can digest it. I don't know if that's possible for anybody, but right. But some can. You can't criticize. But if someone's getting really fat and lethargic and everything, then obviously they're eating too much. But if they can digest it and work, then can't say it's bad, even though I couldn't eat anywhere near the same amount. All right. So, you know, this is the very important verse, you know, it's just giving us a basis of, these are the major urges, you know, that within each one of them, there's many other sub-urges, I guess. You could keep dividing and dividing and dividing. Okay, let's leave that one for now. And text number 2.
Excuse me, Maharaj.
More? You want to say
Maharaj,
something?
On
Yeah.
the number 1, you mentioned if when we were asking Dina Vallabha Prabhu, used to ask if this is to be presented, say, in a college or university. And from experience, the way we present in the college or in the school are a little bit different from when speaking with the devotee community.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I would want to rather say that if it is a college preaching, I would start by stating the goal of life is to surrender to God, irrespective of whatever faith or religion or discipline or profession. And to surrender to God, the senses are always distracting. And to put its senses in control to be able to serve the Lord, then there is a need. And that need is to control the senses by controlling the senses.
Right. Like I found with Christians that are nice ones, but anybody, if we don't want to just talk, you have to surrender to Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. But the idea of the enemies being lust, anger, and greed, everyone can relate to that, right? What are the 7 cardinal sins that they have in the church? I don't know if it's in the Christian, Protestant, the Catholic Church. You know what they are?
The church, Cardinal.
7 main sins. Wow, what kind of Christians were you guys?
Maharaj, it depends on which type of church we were belonging to. For me, we are the charismatic type. So some of the Catholic rules, we don't follow them. We don't even read the Old Testament. They say it's not, it's different from the actual Bible. The Holy Bible or Christianity begins with the New Testament. So it depends. That is why maybe we cannot answer this question.
Anyway, this should be, we say six enemies, right? Lust, anger, and greed, envy, delusion, right? So the 7 cardinal sins that are in many teachings: pride, greed, anger, envy, lust, gluttony, and sloth. Pride, greed, same Bhagavad Gita. Dambo, Darpa, Bidan, pride is a demoniac quality. Greed is one of the 6 enemies. Wrath means extreme anger. That's envy, lust. Exactly same. Gluttony is achahara. Eating too much, picking out. And sloth means laziness. So those, no Christian would argue if you said that. Unless they were completely crazy and, that you say these are sins. These are contrary to the 7 virtues.
All right. When you talk about Christianity, there's so much of ambiguity about what is Christianity today, because the 7 sins are identified by the Catholic and the Roman Catholic theologians. But the other Christian, so-called Christian faiths, they do not even accept some of these principles. I have a practical experience. There was a wedding program I had to attend, one of a neighbor, and the pastor was openly preaching on the pulpit that the sex organ should be used freely. In fact, it should be used maximally as much as possible. And later on, I had a discussion with his assistants, and I was explaining this. But he has so many excuses to give. So I guess this is why it is very difficult to for a general acceptance of these 7 sins even within the Christianity. But it's a reality, it's a fact that there's actually these sins that the living entity or vices the living entity has to overcome.
Anyway, I think any person that's a real spiritual speaker, whatever so-called religion they're in, is going to agree that lust and greed and anger are detrimental.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Please, I would like to make a comment on the first text.
Okay.
So all the qualifications that were given in that text, though initially they may not be easy, but according to Srila Prabhupada's purports, if by Krishna's mercy, we get the opportunity to associate to the pure devotee, then by their mercy, we can be able to develop those qualities.
Right.
That's one thing I remember.
So Lord Chaitanya gave us a special mercy of chanting the holy name and encouraging us to just chant all the time, get out and chant, especially when we get out for Harinam, then we're stuck. We just keep chanting. If we're at the temple, we may stop for one reason or another. But if we're just out in the street, we're going to keep chanting. So that's, and we'll automatically take shelter of the holy name. But all these things we can match up from, that's the thing about, Prabhupada said, don't try to preach from the Bible because everybody has so many misinterpretations and different understandings, and, you have to be very careful. So we just preach from Bhagavad Gita. But lust, anger, greed, envy, these are bad. These are troublesome for human society. What's causing all the wars? What's causing all the greed? Why, like they ask us in Nigeria every time I went on television, what are you going to do about poverty? And I said, the problem is not the poor people, it's the rich people, the greedy rich people. They don't share anything. They don't care about anyone else. So they're just taking more and more for themselves, and that's everywhere, every country, They just get powerful and they just take more and more and exploit everyone else, and they don't care what happens to the rest of the people, as long as they can live luxuriously. Greed. God can fulfill everyone's needs, but he can't fulfill your greeds. All right, so who can say something about text number 2?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yep.
Text number 2. I read. Say, Achahara Prayasasta Prajapo Niyamagraha Jena Sanjasta Liomcha Sabir Bhaktil Niya Nina Vinasyati. A person's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities: eating more than necessarily, or collecting more funds than required, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. 3, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. 4, practicing the scriptural rules or regulations only for the purposes of following them. but not for the purpose of spiritual advancement. 5, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And then 6, being greedy for mundane achievement. Hare Krishna.
All right. It's very basic, but very exalted also, for if we want anybody, even people that are just trying to succeed in a sport or any kind of study or anything, they have to be aware like this to control their life so they don't get sick and they don't get waste their time and not do their homework or something. Okay, so you'd like to carry on and make some comment?
Am I right? As you said,
Like,
they are very...
I'll tell you this, like Salika Prabhu was saying about the university class, and there's so many people now giving seminars how to succeed. Basically, they use these principles without any God consciousness, but how you have to fix your mind, focus on what you're trying to do, only work on that, don't get distracted. That's all what's here, Avoid the news, even they say, don't read the newspapers, read books about your business, your work. Step by step. Okay, let's hear something. You can even look in the purport. Open book test. I can point out there's a few things in the purport right away. Human life is meant for plain living and high thinking. Now that's the motto of the West African Hare Krishna Society, right?
Yes, Maharaj.
So there's some endeavor in that direction now with the farming. Plain living means, just basics, just like this verse says, you don't need too many things to live. And you won't get happiness from having more and more things. Simple living. But what does high thinking mean? Madan Gopal, can you give a definition of high thinking? What do you mean by that? Haribol, are you there?
Nanda Gopa Prabhu.
Okay.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Okay. What do you say high thinking means?
High thinking, Maharaj, means to think high.
Means what?
Focus on living beyond this material world.
Yeah.
By giving aside all these thoughts. As Swami is saying, we should give these six thoughts aside and live above all these six thoughts.
Okay, how do we achieve that?
By controlling our senses, our mind and senses, Maharaj.
how do we achieve the high thing? What's the highest thing to think about?
High thinking is using our senses to serve the Lord, Maharaj. Use our senses to please the Lord.
Krishna is the highest thing. That's high thinking. Now, there are many people that talk about high thinking. I will become the managing director of my company in 5 years. I will earn so much money. That's not high thinking. That's low thinking, actually. High thinking means, like you said, spiritual, thinking of Krishna, which is centered around chanting the holy name, either alone or together. So plain living and high thinking, not very complicated living.
Okay.
So we're not distracted. Like some people are so fashion conscious, they're constantly buying new clothes. Like Charlie Boy, always getting new far outweighed dress and new jewelry and, just to, it's just bodily conscious. And it's a common thing. New wigs, even our girls, they look wigs, It's just complicating your life. So there's 3 Krishna's energies that are mentioned right in the beginning of this purport.
Yes, Maharaj.
Somebody tell me what they are. Tell everybody.
Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, and Tataksha Shakti.
And what is that?
Antaranga Shakti is the internal potency of the Lord. Bahiranga Shakti is the external energy. And the Tataksha Shakti is said to be the marginal energy.
And what is that marginal energy?
The marginal energy is the living entity.
And why is it marginal?
Because he has ability to be either internally or external. It can be situated externally and externally. It can act on the platform of internal energy or external.
Right. We have that's our free will.
Yeah.
We can choose. So in order to choose to be in the Antaranga Shakti, which is Radharani service, we have to hear about Krishna. We have to get association with devotees and hear so we know what it is. If we don't know about something, how are we going to want to go there? So in the gross way, like people in some countries, they hear about America and how you can enjoy there and get rich, and they want to go there. Devotees hear about Krishna, they hear about the spiritual world, and they want to go there. So that we can sacrifice just, what many people think is absolute necessities for a higher taste. Okay, I'd like to hear a few more comments. Let's get everybody. Who else can we call on here? Miriam Bentel. That's Samadaji, right?
Miriam Benti, please could you unmute yourself?
Where is she?
Ghana.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Where are you?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, where are you?
I'm in Ghana,
Are you-
Prabhu.
Ghana, and what temple? Which temple?
Shri Radha Govinda.
Oh, all
Shri
right.
Shri Radha Govinda.
All right. Mediate. All right. So how long have you been a devotee?
About 3 years now.
How many lifetimes have you been trying? That we don't know, but the fact that we're able to
Yes.
come to where you are now indicates that many lifetimes, or else somehow just causes special mercy of Lord Nityananda. You know, we're trying, we do a little bit, and we do a little more, then we get distracted. So this time, stick with it. It's a short, life is short. Give one life completely to Krishna, and you'll be very happy during that life, and next life will be much better. So have you been attending all the classes, or did you come in late?
Okay, I attended part of the Bhagavad Gita class, which I did some of the parts in the temple with Chaitanya Prabhu, Chaitanya Prema Prabhu.
And
So
how
when
about
I
this
came,
class?
I just took off.
How about this
Yes, I've been
Upadeshamrita?
attending. I've been attending. So,
Okay. So would you like to say
yeah.
something about your realizations of Krishna consciousness? Why did you come to Krishna consciousness?
Sure.
Or
All
how
right.
did you come?
Actually, I am from a Muslim background.
Yeah.
I joined by hearing, I heard a friend playing bhajans, that is the Hare Krishna bhajans. That was the first time I heard that. So it really got me, it touched me. So I asked him what is this song? Where did he get it? The rhythm is very nice, it's really pleasing. So that was when he started telling me about the Hare Krishna movement. So I told him I'll make a day and then I will come see the temple and listen to all of this music. So there I met him, gave me a lot of the bhajans and I started playing even though I didn't understand. So I was from a Muslim background. So that was when one day he called me and Mariam, I'm going to the temple. Would you like to go with me? So I joined. That was when I
Really?
gave up my Islamic practices. Yes, and I started coming to the temple regularly, even though family don't know, but trying. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have to, this is a very simple instructions from Rupa Goswami that we have to look out for, because the tendency is to do those kind of things. Try to get more than we need, associate, talk alpa. It's just natural. It's so easy to fall into that. But if we read enough and but the preventive is best is to talk about Krishna and try to be busy with Krishna, chanting, serving. Then automatically but we don't want to think. Sometimes different groups of devotees, they decide they want to build a multi-million-dollar temple or something, and not necessary, but for some motive maybe is not just for Krishna's pleasure. And they just have to work and work and work and never get enough money. And so we have to be careful. We can learn from different Jehovah's Witness groups or different groups that they just try to get more and more groups of people together, chanting anywhere and everywhere. And then they get many, many members and they can build temples. All right. So, Bhakti Eli, are you there?
Krishna Prabhu, am I right?
Okay, good.
I'm
So,
there.
text number 3.
Maharaj? Krishna Maharaj?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Text
Krishna
number
Maharaj?
3.
Maharaj, please, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, go ahead.
I hear you. I think you hear me also.
But Taheli,
Krishna Maharaj?
can you hear?
No, I cannot hear people. Krishna Maharaj?
We can
Yeah,
hear
I
you.
hear you. We all hear you. Everybody else, I hear very good. But you're not hearing me. Everybody else is hearing me.
Yes, Mary.
Yeah. Okay, Prince.
Dandavat Maharaj?
Yeah. Can you say verse number 3 and then give your realizations?
Okay. For the test number 3, we have the 6 principle favorable to the execution of the devotional service. The first one is to be enthusiastic. The second one is to endeavor with confidence, being patient, acting according to the regulative principles, abandon the association of no devotee, and following in the full step of the previous acharyas. From test 3, that is what we have to notify. And for my own realization.
Excuse me, but Taheli, Prince Hakim, sorry. Prince Hakim.
Yes. Yes.
Is it possible for you to put on your video, please?
Okay. I'll try.
Please
because
try.
of the network, I don't know if it will work.
Yeah, while you speak, you can put it on. When you are not speaking, you can put it off.
Is it okay?
Yes, you can put it on now. Then when after you speak, you can put it off.
Okay. Let me. Is it okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Then for my own realization of this text 3, I would like to say that I see how it's good to associate with devotees, and then also how to be enthusiastic, because without enthusiasm, we cannot do well our devotional service. I don't know if the word is good in English. If in French you say morose, if you still like a person who is not happy, it will be difficult to be associated with devotees because you stay alone. You cannot do anything better. And also the way to act according to the regulative principle, like to hear all the time, to first of all to chant the holy name every day during our 16 rounds, and hear also the scriptures, read Bhagavad Gita or go to class and hear Srimad Bhagavatam, go to Mangalarati to hear the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Then since I'm doing my devotion in the house, I chant my 16 rounds, I do my Arati every day, every morning. but I don't read. That was my problem. But since we do this test 3, I start to read, because unless Maharaj asks question, what is the sis favorable, those who are not favorable for our devotional service, why is the interaction between the devotees? So when Maharaj asked the first time the question, I say, hey, I have to I have to read, I have to learn more than what I'm doing now. Then that's pushed me to learn more and to read more. That's my realization for the test 3. Hare Krishna.
All right. So I'd like to hear somebody, I think one of the most important considerations of this text is, of course, the first 3, utsahan, nischaya, daya. You have to be enthusiastic, otherwise you won't move, right? Enthusiastic means, you like something, you want to do it, whatever it is. Of course, you can be enthusiastic for things that are not Krishna conscious also, but hopefully that's not what we're doing. But and determination, because whatever we're trying to do, there will be stumbling blocks, it'll become difficult, so one has to persevere. Sometimes, like, we'll say when Krishna consciousness in every country, West Africa not excluded, when it first started, it took off like anything. Lots of people joined, and, it was a big family. But then, whatever happens, devotees get discouraged, the economy crashes, the government, the Christians attack you, different places, different things happen. And so we have to keep going anyway, in spite of the difficulties. And then patience, this is what I want to have somebody to talk about. Patience, tolerance. Patience and tolerance are almost the same. They're synonymous words. And that's what was stressed in the other one. The first verse is, you have to tolerate. So the dictionary says patience. There's another type of patient, like at the doctor's office, but that's spelled different. But the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. That's interesting, I think. So let's see, who hasn't spoken today? Rati Devi, you're very senior and you've been through a lot. So please explain to us about patience and how to develop it, how to practice it.
Mother Rati,
Okay.
are you there?
Hare Maharaj.
Okay, good.
You heard me?
Yes, go ahead, Mother.
Hare Maharaj. Being patient is a very good quality of a devotee. A devotee that is very patient can tolerate anything or any problem that comes his or her way and be able to bear with others and carry them along.
Okay.
Um,
Can you talk about your experience? Patience?
Yes, Maharaj.
tolerance. Say like in marriage.
Okay.
How many of you are married? Marriage is we had a devotee in Israel. He said that one must get married in order to learn to be tolerant. Because it's a real test, living with someone all the time. And not, when you don't exactly agree about something, or one is tired and the other one's all fired up to do something, being able to tolerate that, both parties, requires. And there's a very famous Christian preacher named Rick Warren. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of him. It's worthwhile to listen to a few of his talks on YouTube. He wrote a book called The Purpose-Driven Church. And Vaishesika used that to set up his world-famous Silicon Valley community. He wrote another book, The Purpose-Driven Life. And he says the purpose of the human life is to glorify God. And you should just glorify God with whatever you have. Don't think, well, God hasn't given me what I need to do the work. Just take whatever God's given you, it's perfect, and glorify the Lord. Quite, serious business. So, but he said, we have to work with the church, within the church, because in order to spiritually advance, we have to develop tolerance and patience. And we can't do that by ourselves. You can't do that all alone. We tend to think, oh, if this guy wasn't here, then I would be able to do so much. There's always, but we have to tolerate, because, Prabhupada wanted a big society, international society, intertribal society, intergender society, everything, interfaith coming, someone's from Muslim, someone's from Christian, someone's from, African traditional, someone's from nowhere, someone's atheist, but we can all come together, if we are thinking of Krishna, if we're all working towards that goal of Krishna. Just like a football team, they don't ask somebody, what's your religion when they join the team. They want to know how they can play the ball, right?
Yes, Maharaj.
So we shouldn't care what someone's background is, or someone's age, or someone's tribe, or anything. We want to know how they can chant Hare Krishna. What can you do for Krishna?
Yes.
If they have enthusiasm, Prabhupada just said, look for enthusiasm, Someone's enthusiastic, aim them in the right direction, that's all. Give them some help, Give them some facility to do something worthwhile. Okay, someone else?
Yeah, I will still say something, Maharaj.
Okay.
As a devotee, there are many other devotees that come from different background and different behavior, different training from different homes. So coming to stay in the temple, you don't expect everybody to behave the particular way you expect. You want to, because some are well trained, some are not being well trained. But when they come to the temple, it's a platform where everybody comes to learn how to speak and when to speak, when to sleep and when to wake up. A lot we are learning from here. So it's way of tolerating each other as we are progressing. Because there is a gradual process. So as we are progressing, we will start seeing that people with different character and behavior will start changing and adjusting to the rules and regulation in the movement.
Right.
So even
And
going out for preaching also, we meet different kinds of people outside. Some will collect the book and throw it at you. Some will wait patiently, listening to you, what you're saying, and they will ask meaningful questions. But some will just outrightly tell you many things that will discourage you. But because we are trained how to be, to tolerate and to be patient, so it helps us a lot.
Yeah. And the senior devotees have to be tolerant of new people. They can't we have to be patient, just like your mother with your child. They grow up gradually, and we can only learn, everybody learns at a different pace. So patience is extreme. Say you're really, really enthusiastic and you go out and you get a bunch of people to move in your ashram. But then if you think they have to become as enthusiastic as you are overnight, and you forget that it took you a while, you have to tolerate. They're all learning at different pace, and not get angry at people when they're slow or when they're rebellious. It's a discipline, but it's patience is, tolerate. Intolerance is, so much trouble comes from that divorce. So many divorce comes from intolerance. So much so-called domestic abuse. Men can't tolerate the wife. Wife can't tolerate the man. She mouths off to him, and he can't tolerate her emotions and punches her out. Because he's not developing his qualities of tolerance. It's not taught. It's a basic principle of any religion, but they're not teaching it in the church. What do they talk about in the church, or even a lot of lectures in the temple? We don't talk about Krishna. We don't talk about these things. Now we are, but many times they're talking about this and that, and what's going on in the world, and what's the next COVID going to hit. And all right, so thank you. Someone else have any experience when they were intolerant? What happens? You can lose a friend. You can lose a new devotee if you're a leader and you're not tolerant. You can lose the trust of your children. So many things can happen.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, Prabhu. Maharaj, on this verse, I think from my understanding from what Prabhupada is saying in the purport, and especially from what we read from Nectar of Devotion, the first three is very crucial in development of Bhakti. And my realization is that they are progressive. For one to be patient, one must first develop the first two. And number one is that one must be enthusiastic. Unless one is enthusiastic, one cannot become patient about anything, because one has to first develop enthusiasm for that goal. Whatever the goal is, one has to first and foremost develop enthusiasm towards that particular object. When one has enthusiasm, because this will come. But when one is determined and one is confident, challenges doesn't end. My realization is that for one to become patient, one has to first and foremost develop the first two qualities of enthusiasm.
Yeah. They all go together. But if we're not patient, the enthusiasm will actually hinder us. If we want results too quick, or we have false hopes of, results. It's very important. But not that we can be lackadaisical and just say, oh, it's okay, you know. We have to keep trying, but, you know, many people, they, like Thomas Edison and the light bulb, you know the story, right? Everybody knows?
Thomas Edison, which of the quote, Maharaj?
Yeah, Thomas Edison, the famous inventor of the electric light bulb.
Yeah.
So he had done, I think, 1,300, you know, trying to put a particular gas and particular element, and none of them worked. So someone said, aren't you disappointed? You failed, you know, 1,300 times. And he said, no, now I've learned about 1,300 things that don't work. So I'm making a lot of progress. And then he had a huge laboratory, factory, whatever, and it burned down. And he called his wife and his son. He said, come here quick. You'll never see such a big fire. This is a spectacular fire. And the son told him, you know, don't you feel bad? All our work, everything is burned up. And he said, yes, all our mistakes are burned up now. We can start fresh. So, you know, that's a proper attitude. Brigham Young and Mormon Church had the same attitude. They started building their church, and everything was wrong and totally failure in the foundation or something, and he just started over again. And the devotees are doing like that too. You know, we have our ups and downs, but the real thing is we're trying to develop love for Krishna. We're trying to develop, you know, how can I work in such a way to develop love for Krishna? And when we're doing like that, then that attracts people anyway, because everybody wants love. That's what everybody's looking for. All right. So next, number 4 is a little easier. We talked about a little bit yesterday. I think everybody knows it.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Who's that?
Please, I want to ask a question.
Okay. Who is it?
It's me, Mariam.
Bentio.
Miriam. Okay.
Okay. I want to ask. Sometimes devotees are not most devotees are not from families that are devotees. So I want to ask, how best can a devotee tolerate a family that is not a devotee, or a husband tolerate a wife that is not a devotee, or a wife tolerating a husband that is not also a devotee, in terms of following strictly the religious principles that Srila Prabhupada has laid down for us? Sometimes it's very difficult because if you're not from a family that is a devotee, and out of you being a single person, a devotee, it is very, very difficult for you to follow the principles and for you not to have problems with your family. How best can you sort these two out to make sure you don't disobey your family and also follow the religious principles? How can you do that?
Well, this is one of the main questions we're getting lately, because we have many, many cases like that. So it depends. If the family is really against and really, really bad, someone might have to leave the family. You know? Otherwise, sometimes someone becomes a devotee and they're a little bit too much acting like a devotee and talking about it and disturbing the family. You kind of have to keep your head down, you know, and practice quietly. We have this, like in China, so many ladies join and their husbands are not devotees. Some of the husbands are nice. some of them make the children they even have to cook meat because they insist that they eat meat and the children eat meat. And it's very hard. But they just keep chanting and praying to Krishna. So it's, there's no two cases are exactly the same. We have anybody there that's experienced in this that can give some advice?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think in my situation, I'm a devotee and my wife is not practicing. So I told her that's okay. So I bought my cooking utensils and I told her she should cook the food this way, the way that is prescribed. So after some time, she cooked the meat and stuff here, and the children, they eat theirs, and I also prepared mine. But later, she herself stopped. I noticed that now when she cooks, she doesn't cook theirs, she prepares mine in a bigger volume, and she shares. And I asked her why. These days, I don't see you guys eating your meat and stuff. Initially, she told me, oh, you are the family head, so whatever you decide for the family, we all follow. I said,
Wow.
okay, that's good. Then later she herself says, oh, I never knew I could eat without meat. And I also say, yeah, I also thought so. So that's good. And you could see that even my children, they will eat and they will ask for more. That is without the meat and stuff. So what I'll say is patience. The word is patience. And then you keep on practicing. Some people even are not even allowed to be seen doing that Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, because they are still under the care of their guardians, their parents, or somebody is taking care of them. But Krishna knows your heart. Krishna knows what you want. You cannot, the Paratmatma is always with us. So if your heart is willing, you are willing, Krishna will always make a way for you. Right now, she wants to follow me to the temple. But because there's still a little attachment on the Christianity, the pastors, the people in the house, you have somebody who attend the same church with her. So that's how she will manage to detach herself is a problem now. But I know with time she will overcome. I've even stopped talking to her about Krishna consciousness, but periodically she will come and then want to hear. My pastor says this. What did Krishna consciousness also say? So all I want to say is that the word is patient. Don't annoy them too much with your rituals in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, because there are many, they may be able to, in Africa, sometimes they can even take you to some voodoo or juju person to take you out of the family because you are a disgrace to them. How can a Muslim family or a Christian family, and then you have taken yourself to go and join some Indian demon worshipping something? It's a disgrace. My senior brother told me that how can I sit down, you an educated person, somebody who sat under my feet, I educated you, I took you to the university, and you sit down for somebody to come and brainwash you, an Indian to come and brainwash you. And he gave me examples of his experiences with people from other parts, religion, some of his friends getting mad out of those practices. But I accepted it, and fortunately for me, I'm now on my own with my family. So I didn't even say anything. And the only thing that brought that argument was because I said I don't eat meat. The whole family met, food was served. I said, oh, I will not eat meat. Fortunately, my wife was there, and quickly she prepared something for us from a non-meat food, a vegetarian diet. So the word is patience. Take your cool and then pray to Krishna. Even in our Bhakti class, our teacher, Slochana Das, the temple president of Sri Sri Radha Krishna temple, he says even you can chant the Maha Mantra on the rosary or the tasbah, the one the Muslims use. It depends on what you want. Even you can chant in your mind. So there's no limit. But the word is, let Krishna knows that this is what you want. And if it is pure, there will always be a way one day. Hare Krishna. All right?
Yeah, that's good advice. Sounds like your wife is quite a good person, though. You know, she's respecting you as the head of the family and everything. So they're not always like that. But the idea of just don't push your Krishna consciousness on them. Just keep it, internal when you're with your family. I learned that with my mother. Most of us did. We preached really heavy. You're not the body. I'm not this body. All that. But gradually learned after I was out preaching a lot. She's just another non-devotee, and I should treat her the same way I treat people I meet on Sankirtan. And when I did that, then we got along really good. Of course, I didn't have to live with her. If you have to live with somebody, but you have to be very, considerate of the other person and pray a lot to Krishna in their heart to help them change, so that for their, not for your benefit, but for their benefit. Prayer is a very powerful thing. And practice these things that are in verse 4. Dadati gu, give them some gifts. Give them nice food. Yeah.
The point 5, abandoning the association of non-devotees. I have a question there that I want to ask.
Hare Krishna.
If I'm permitted.
Dina Prabhu, before we go to text number 5, I think Prince
No,
Akem's...
we are still on text 3.5.
Okay, point 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Point number 5. Okay.
I think Maharaj haven't gone to text 4 yet.
I tried, but you jumped back, so it's okay.
Okay.
So I think we went over that quite a bit, but we can't avoid associating with non-devotees. Yeah. For work and for, family sometimes, but intimately associating, joining in, in their low class. We have to be careful how we associate.
Prince Sakems asked a question in regards to this number 3. Prince Akens, can you unmute
Hare
and ask?
Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much.
You're
Is to share also a small thing about how to deal with our family when we become Krishna consciousness, and how to associate with them. For my own experience, when we join the Hare Krishna movement, nobody in my family don't agree, don't allow me to be Krishna consciousness, because they have some ideas about India's practice. And then, but what first, the first thing who make me to advance is the faith and the conviction I have for Krishna consciousness. Because when I read the books, when I'm chanting, I'm doing my japa, at this time there is no temple in our country. And when I'm doing my japa, they see me like I'm coming from another country or a planet. But when I'm following what he says in the scriptures, my father becomes seeing me like a good guy. Then when the temple come to Togo and they tell us, here is the regulation principle, so and so, and then if you want to get initiated, that's what you have to do. And then we begin to follow the principle, the regulation principle, and then I become a vegetarian. I tell my father that by today, I will not eat meat again. And so everything who is cooked with meat, fish, and eggs, I will not eat. Father, oh, my son, you can do this? I say, yes, my father. And then my father himself go to our stepmother and tell her, today, here is the money, you buy another utensil of cooking, and then you cook for my boy, Akinchana, like this. And then when, for the first day, they cook the vegetarian soup for me. And when I come to eat, my father also want to try. He want to see what is this. And when my father eats this, by this day, my father become vegetarian and get also initiated, because we come to the temple. He follow me. We come to the temple. He was initiated also. It's matter of character. If you are become Krishna consciousness, and then you follow what is right in the scripture, and your character change, you will influence everybody around you. But if you become Krishna consciousness and you don't follow what is right in the Bhagavad Gita or in the Srimad Bhagavatam, you cannot influence anybody, and then you have all the time problem with everybody. That's what I want to share for my own experience. For the question who asked about the people, our family, and so Hare Krishna. Sorry for my English, because I'm from a French zone. Hare Krishna. I try my best.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That many devotees had that experience. That if they just practice and they don't, push it on anybody, and they act nice around people, gradually they see that it's been you've become a much better person. You're not dying because you don't eat meat. You're not a fanatic, crazy religious person. And then they start to see that. My mother finally said to me, I think this is good for you. But that was like after 35 years or something. She at first, she said, well, we didn't understand. We didn't know. They were so upset. I couldn't talk to them. And I was new and fanatic, and I had no way, didn't know how to deal with them. But they didn't really want to hear anything. But gradually they just saw I was doing all right, and I become nice, and I learned how to just associate with the family the same way I would associate with, if you went to a TV show or something, you just sitting around with the non-devotees. Sometimes we have to do that at work or something. You just don't go talk about Krishna, 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 but you don't get involved too much with them. but you don't harass them. You don't try to change them. Very good point. Nicely stated in English. Excuse me. All right, can we just whip through number 4? Dayarupa Devi Dasi.
Yarupa, Mataji, are you there?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. So text 4 says, offering gifts in charity.
Yeah, just
Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad and offering prasad are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. So in this text, Srila Rupa Goswami advises us on how to, amongst devotees, how to share, how to love one another. And from my own understanding and also your explanation, this is very, very relevant if we really love Srila Prabhupada, because before we can go out to preach, we ourselves should be able to be united through these 6 symptoms. And if we are able to follow, there is nothing can actually stop us from pleasing Srila Prabhupada by going out there to preach. If there is love and unity amongst the devotees, then we can be strong enough to follow what Srila Prabhupada wants us to do by expanding this movement. So also we should be careful about how we do this. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explained different kinds of devotees, and we should know how to deal with these devotees so as to not commit any offenses. So personally, I've seen that in those temples where these 6 symptoms are prominent, the temple really improves and looks very attractive on the outside, and people or passerbys are always attracted to join and inquire more about what the movement is about. So as Prince Akram's Prabhu initially stated, it's mostly about the character. If we are able to inculcate these qualities or symptoms, then it will be very easy to, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, it will be very easy to
Looking up like snake.
okay. Chaitanya Prema, Madhigol. Welcome.
Krishna, thank you very much, Maharaj.
I have a saying, and I'm sure you must have it also. Charity begins at home. You know that one?
Yes.
Huh?
Maharaj, I was having a lot of network problems, so all my battery is down. Throughout last night, there was no light. So I just got to the temple and struggling to connect. I'm sorry for this.
Well, now you're connected. So we're just talking about number 4. In charity, accepting gifts, giving prasadam, accepting prasadam, revealing the mind. So there's a saying in English, charity begins at home. And this is what Mataji was saying, Dairupa. That you know, if we get these things right, then when we go out or when people meet us, people come to the temple, they'll be very attracted. We have a loving
Yes, Maharaj.
atmosphere. And in quite a few purports, more than once, and Prabhupada was talking about that, these ideas that he kept mentioning our International Society for Krishna Consciousness is based on this principle and that principle, and this is what we should be doing. So that's the main thing we want to take away from this study of this book, how we can apply it. You know, it's just deceptively simple in many of these things, you know, so that we can easily think, yeah, I know that. But, you know, this tendency that is there in modern day and modern education is, I know something, but I don't have to practice it, you know. Yeah, I know. Right? But that's
Thank you
just
very
Gandhi.
much.
If a Gandhi's not, devotees are Gandhi also, we study, we learn about Krishna, we learn many things to live in this world. We learn Bhagavad Gita, we learn Bhagavatam. But for the purpose of serving Krishna, learning how to serve Krishna, developing love for Krishna.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
So, Tanya, can you say something? You're a graduate of so many classes.
Oh, Maharaj, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Actually, the whole process is to live by example. And we said that our theoretical knowledge becomes realized knowledge when we sincerely render services to the Guru, many services to sadhus, other devotees, and also when we follow strict sadhana. So Guru Seva, Sadhu Seva, strong sadhana. This will help to transform our theoretical knowledge into its practical equivalent. So how to achieve this is the whole process. That one drop of realized knowledge is equal to 1 gallon of theoretical knowledge. So the whole effort is for us to learn how to put what we have learned into practice. And these loving exchanges, actually, they form the basis of our movement. And all Sankirtan, all Prasadhan distribution, temple programs, they are all about it. Yes. The less advanced devotees inquire, the advanced devotees explain. And yeah, appreciate. So the Sankirtan we are doing outside, we are giving books to the people, and they give some donations. So it's a way of loving exchanges by extension. So the whole Krishna consciousness is a platform created by Srila Prabhupada and the Paramparam for us to practice these loving exchanges. And the sooner we do this among ourselves, the better, because the individuals are the nucleus of the society. So if we are able to practice the loving exchanges among them, by extension, the society will become healthy. The movement will become healthy, then the society will become healthy. So it is very important that we practice these loving exchanges among us. Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Okay, so just, you know, the loving exchanges are giving and accepting. So we have to realize that the senior devotee should be more into giving than accepting. And many times we think I'm the senior and the juniors should be giving to me. They should serve me. They should give me, you know. But the more senior one comes, he wants to serve. And if we have that mood that when new people come, we want to serve them, we want to give something, we want to give them Krishna, we want to give them nice food, we want to give them books, giving, shelter. We'll be very happy, connected with Krishna, and they'll be trained up properly. That they want to do that also when they, they want to be preachers, they want to be givers. We have many different saintly people from different groups that have said something like that, that when you die, you're remembered for how much you gave, how much you gave, not how much you took, And when we were talking about these virtues and sins, right? Oh, Krishna disappeared. Aristotle, anybody heard of Aristotle? Anybody heard of him? Famous Greek philosopher after Socrates.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, he made a list of virtues. He divided moral virtues and intellectual virtues. Moral virtues are courage, temperance, face of pleasure and pain. Sounds like Bhagavad Gita, right? Liberality with worth and possessions, charity. Magnificence with great wealth, giving. Magnanimity, proper ambition, truthfulness, wittiness in conversation, joking, being friendly like Krishna. Friendliness and social conduct. Modesty in the face of shame or shamelessness. And righteous indignation in the face of injury. And intellectual virtues is intelligence and science and theoretical wisdom. So everybody, every culture, African traditional, they have also these same ideas. We find them everywhere. If you get back to the roots of any tradition, any society, these things are there. They're just natural. But they all get lost, and especially in Kali Yuga, they're just vices become virtues. What used to be vices are now virtues. We glorify whoever's the biggest, strongest, has the most money. All right, so I think we should try text number 5. We can move a little quickly. It's another very important one internally. Chaitanya, you want to read it?
Chaitanya, pray. See, pray.
One should mentally honor.
Okay, once to mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of the Lord, of Lord Krishna. Once to offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation and is engaged in worshiping the deity. And one to associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others.
That's a very exalted state. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, I never saw him criticizing. A little bit. When he got harassed quite seriously unreasonably, he did sometimes criticize, but it wasn't in the, it was philosophical, you know, it was, you know, understanding, feeling compassion for people who are not acting as proper Vaishnavas, making a Vaishnava parad. We saw him feel very, you know, compassionate for someone who was criticizing him very much. He just was crying. He said, it's very unfortunate. He doesn't know that what is Vaishnava parad. You know? But these other things, you know, how to deal with devotees. Mentally honor someone who's chanting, but maybe they're not behaving properly. We don't want to associate too intimately with them. You know, they may be busy. There's some devotees are chanting, even following principles, even worshiping deities, but if you talk to them, they just want to criticize devotees like anything. So we can honor them for the fact that they're chanting and they have that much mercy from Krishna, but we don't want to get around them very much. But if someone has undergone initiation, that means that they've been following, they've been, you know, practicing, supposed to mean that, and they're worshiping the deity, then we should associate and offer obeisances, respectful. And a devotee who's really advanced and he's just always serving Krishna, we should try to serve and be with them as much as possible. And try to become like that. Because whatever we associate with, we're going to become like it whether we want to or not. But we should aspire, you know, to become a more advanced devotee. Okay, let's move on to the next one because it's about chanting, which is the whole essence of everything. No, wait a minute. This is also about
6. Being situated in his original conscious position, a pure devotee does not identify with the body. Such a devotee should not be seen from a materialistic point of view. Indeed, one should overlook a devotee having a body born in a low family, a body with a bad complexion, a deformed body, or a diseased or infirm body. According to ordinary vision, such imperfections may seem prominent in the body of a pure devotee, but despite such seeming defects, the body of a pure devotee cannot be polluted. It is exactly like the waters of the Ganges, which sometimes during the rainy season are full of bubbles, foams, and mud. The Ganges waters do not become polluted. Those who are advanced in spiritual understanding will bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water.
a lot there, huh?
Maharaj?
So this, you know, we're programmed to judge people by the body, by the tribe they're in, that's body, whether they're fat or skinny or they're beautiful, shapely or ugly, you know, and think that that's the person. But we know by experience that's not always, that's not the case most of the time. So many people have what's considered very beautiful bodies, but their consciousness and their behavior is abominable, right? So that's the idea, don't judge. We have to judge by someone's bhakti. Then we don't reject anyone because of, you know, any physical or bodily designation. The Ganges is never polluted. Pollution is in the water, but floating in the water. It's not in the water. If you filter out the dirty things, the Ganges is always pure. So the same thing for a devotee. We overlook the defects in the body, and they're always pure now. Number 7 is the last verse about sadhana, and it's the essence of all the sadhana. Shat Krishna Nama Charitadi Sitapta Vidya Pitopatapta Rasanasya Rachochikanu Quintavaradhanudinam Kalusaiva Justa Swadvi Kramad Bhavati Tadgadamula Hantri. Read it, somebody with a good, clear, loud connection.
The holy name, character, pastimes, and activities of Krishna are all transcendentally sweet like sugar candy. Although the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidya, ignorance, cannot taste anything sweet, it is wonderful that simply by carefully chanting these sweet names every day, a natural relish awakens within his tongue, gradually destroys. Hare Krishna.
Right. So we get purified gradually by just chanting, but doing everything, chanting, following the principle, associating with devotees especially. We talked about that before, the jaundice, everything tastes bitter, especially sugar, but sugar is the medicine. So sometimes chanting seems bitter. Associating with devotees sometimes seems really difficult. Somehow there's always somebody we don't like them for whatever reason. Sometimes their behavior, or they've said something to us we didn't like. We have bad experience. But we have to tolerate, we have to rise above it. Of course, if somebody's in the ashram and they're just total disturbance, they have to be removed. We can't say, well, we have to tolerate, if they're blasphemous or violent or something like that. And it can bring great trouble down on us if we don't do that. So the next verse is the essence of all advice. But just like yesterday, there was a lot of talk about Radha Kund, So if you look at my picture there, in case you want to go to Radha Kund, there it is. If you just go on the internet and search pictures of Radha Kund, you'll find many nice pictures. And you can sit there and chant in the Krishna in his picture, Radha Kund in his picture. There's no difference in the ultimate sense. It's only just a matter of our own vision. So there's ways now, to go without physically moving your body there. Okay? I thought a very beautiful picture they got when the water was completely calm. There was no wind or anything. So it's a mirror. And I've never seen those buildings looking that color, but it must have been like right at sunrise or sunset or something. Everything became golden. That's the way Govardhan Hill is. In the daytime, it's quite bluish looking, dark. But in the night, when it starts to get dark, it looks very golden, like Lord Chaitanya. But Krishna's dark color. I was looking up one conversation with Prabhupada. There was one congressman in America who was very favorable. They brought him in. They said he was here last year. And he's from the I never know now what people want to be labeled. You know, somebody said, you can't, why you say black? You know, why are you saying this? You know, because we're all spirit souls. But anyway, the man said something like, our Prabhupada said, yes, Krishna is black. The man, I think, asked him, when I heard it in the transcript, it doesn't say that, but the man asked, he said, your Krishna is black, isn't he? And Prabhupada said, yes, he is from your community. They both laughed. And then they had a very nice, friendly conversation. Prabhupada had absolutely he had perfect vision. Everyone is a spirit soul. So, of course, he was aware of different bodies, but it didn't affect him at all as far as judging people. He just saw that they want to serve Krishna and what way they can serve Krishna, and he engaged. We need to practice learning that. So all these things that this book, you know, I hope we bring home, that we start to talk about it, how to make our society what it's supposed to be. Devotees ask that a lot whenever we have meetings after class. We have to talk about it. You know, what we have to know these things. This is how it's supposed to be. They're not complicated. Doesn't require palaces or anything. It just requires a good consciousness, good relationships, family, mood. If you look at some of these Christian churches, that's what they talk about. We have a community of loving people. We all brothers and sisters, and that's what people want. We should have that more than anybody. We have the highest personal philosophy, but sometimes we don't act on that. We act in an impersonal way with each other. Sometimes we're afraid of intimate relationships because of coming from the mature world, afraid of being cheated, afraid of being rejected, fear of failure, fear of success also. Sometimes we fear being successful because then they'll expect us to be successful again and again, right? And so we think maybe I can't do it again, so maybe I better not be successful. All right, so okay, so that's it. I want to thank everybody very much. I don't know if I did a good job. They didn't give me any curriculum or any exams to give or anything. So we just tried to study a practical application of the lessons. And
Thank you very much, Maharaj. You are
devotees
very-
were quite good. Everybody was quite good participating and opening up. This is what all we need to do in order to bring the whole world to Krishna consciousness. Be yourself, you know.
So, Maharaj, I want to thank you very much for your sacrifices and for being able to take time out of your busy schedule to come and facilitate this nectar of instruction, which is actually very essential. I want to, on behalf of all the students, all the teachers, and ISKCON West Africa as a whole, offer my respectful appreciation to these wonderful sacrifices. And now that you have given us this association, I would like to try to pick some things that I can practice on my own. And likewise, other students will try to pick something that we practice deep in order to try to make the change. Change from us, then it will spread to others. So we very much appreciate you. Thank you very, very much. And we are looking forward to seeing you facilitate us again in our Bhakti Vaibhava classes and future Bhakti Sastri classes also. So we thank you very much once again. Hare Krishna.
Need engagement, so. Okay.
Yes, and for the exams, actually, we, unless you are able to, if you have the chance, you can give us one question, essay, so that the students can write the essays and send to you, and you mark it. But if your time doesn't permit you, I will do that. I will send them the essays and.
Yeah, good. I was thinking to do that. Basic, you know. I ask everybody just to talk a little bit on that level today. You know, so just write your idea in 1 or 2 pages max, how we can apply these instructions in our life, in our society. What you can personally offer, not what everybody else should do, but just what you think you can personally do to help us realize these instructions. Is that clear? I have to write it.
Yes. I will choose an essay in that direction on personal application, because officially there are supposed to be exams for these units, and this unit is Nectar of Instruction and Sri Isopanisad. So one question, essay question from Nectar of Instruction, one from Sri Isopanisad, which should be taken by Isolina Bhattidira Damodara Maharaj just after this. So I will give the essay that deals on personal application.
All right. Thank you.
That is at the end of the Sri Isopanisad.
Okay. Good. Thank you all very much for your association. Made me want to visit Africa again. I think it's safe. It's just a long trip to get anywhere nowadays. To transit so many airports, who knows how many tests you have to take, and how many days you have to sit around and wear a mask and a face shield and be afraid of everybody. Offered, just did. All right, thank you. I have people waiting. I have to travel and go somewhere.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Thank
So
you
we
very
request all of the devotees to unmute.
And if you want to go
chant
to there, I'm there.
To appreciate Maharaj for giving us blessings.
Picture of my phone, so take advantage. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare.
Hare
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare.
Krishna, Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Rama,
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama, Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much, Maharaj. Dandava pranams.
Yeah.
Jai.
Jai Shri
Prema Prabhu
Holiness
ki jai.
Kavicandra Maharaj ki.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, Babaji, Salika Baba.
My
We
pranam.
are very fortunate to have Maharaj Association, and pranams to you.
Salika Prabhu.
By next
Salika
weekend,
Prabhu.
we are
Hare
not going
Krishna.
to break because the exams is going to be at the end of the whole unit. So by next weekend, His Holiness Bhaktidira Damodara Maharaj, we start with Sri Isopanisad. Okay? So I will reach out to him and we concretize arrangements so that by next weekend we just continue without stop. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare
Thank you for
Krishna.
your cooperation and for your consistency and for your involvement and for your respecting and honoring the program and for making Maharaj happy. Thank you very much. We are happy. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you, Varun. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Salika Prabhu.
To forgive our shortcomings, but we are moving on and we are happy with it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Yes,
Hare Krishna.
what are you saying? I can hear you.
Yeah, Salika Prabhu. Dr. Eli, who speak to you?
Yeah, I just want to say that, like, you asked me to read this morning, but unfortunately my mic was not that way functioning very good. So I'm really...
It's understood. It's a technical issue, no problem.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry for that. I'm so sorry for that.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. So we appreciate all of you once again. You are trying. Krishna will bless you.
Hey, Bhaktanate,
don't go yet. There is a serious
appeal.
There is a Prabhu.
The network is not good for me. That's why.
Prabhu, there is a serious request from the platform owners that we should try and attend Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita classes, please, on the Hare Krishna platform. The Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam classes on the Hare Krishna platform. They are not very happy that most of the students are not attending. Very few are attending regularly, like Salika, but most other students are not attending and they are not happy about this. And they are the ones giving us the platform. So if they are not happy about it, they can decide to withdraw that service to us and we'll be in trouble. We are begging all of you, if you can make it, please, we should be attending the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam classes so that the host will be happy with us. We need their happiness to be able to move ahead. So consider it. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, please,
Hare Krishna, Mother. Rati Devi Dasi.
We have the desire to attend that class, but the problem is the data. We have to preserve our data for this class we are attending. It's not easy here to get data. If you roll out 2,000 MB within a short while to finish. So whatever data I'm having, I'm preserving it for the program, so I will not miss this. That's what I'm.
Yes, that's the fact. I have been appealing on behalf of all of you. I've been appealing that students use data, and myself, most of the time, I struggle to get data to attend these particular classes. So to force students to make it compulsory is like choking them up. And I've been appealing on the behalf of all the students, but they're also pushing very hard, as if, well, I'm not serious about it. They even said that it is actually compulsory as part of the requirements. Your Bhakti Sastri in Mayapur Institute, who are going to issue the certificate. Wait first. But my own contention is that this is online. This is online, and we need data to attend. Not everybody has the money to make it. So don't make it compulsory. So we are still fighting on it. So please, bear with us. If you can attend. But if you cannot, what can we do? Data is involved. It's not free. It's not a thing where everybody can just come to the classroom and sit down and just listen. But they are trying to force it down on our throat that to make it compulsory, which I'm unable to do up to now. But I'm only appealing. I'm appealing violently that if you can, please attend.
Invoke those mantras, Cyprian.
Yes.
Invoke those mantras.
Hare Krishna.
That all of us can be blessed.
Hare Krishna.
Just
we are appealing to you. Please. Please. I'm violently appealing to you to please try and attend those classes as much as possible. Don't ignore them altogether. They're angry with me. They're angry with me. And you know what that means. They can take away the chance of doing this thing on the platform, and we are in trouble. So let us try to attend those classes. Because the same teachers and some more advanced.
Actually, let
us make more sacrifices. Okay, thank you very much.
Actually,
and also for your information, from next week on, we are going to allocate time for sloka delivery also. We don't want to lax. The remaining half of this unit plus the final unit, we are going to be regular in sloka delivery. So start preparing for that. Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Salinga, I'm very happy with you. You are trying so much. Yes, you are a very good example to all of us.
All glories to Assembly.
You are a good example to all of us, and I'm happy about that.